James Gibbs, what's up? We never met officially now. Welcome to my podcast world.
Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me out here, man, and being a part of this. And definitely for our first introduction, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here, talking hoops, talking life, and talking career, everything. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We faced off a little bit when I was on the bench, but that's a long time ago. But today we're gonna reflect on your career a little bit, and then we're gonna go into your retirement life. Just like to have two segments, old school. We go two halves, first half, second half. In between, we're gonna have a little bit of a halftime show. That's all. That's how we're gonna do it today.
Sounds good. Let's get to it.
All right. So looking back at your first year in Europe, it was like there's a certain amount of expectation that players come in from the States. Was there like a little bit of a reality check when you came in, when you came to Biella, and like expectation versus reality? Like it's something that you came in thinking about, like some preconceived notions about Europe, and then you had like a realization once you got there?
Honestly, I didn't really know how it worked. I didn't know how it worked, and it wasn't like the process wasn't explained to me in detail that much. I just came off of being drafted by the Spurs. Went to summer league in Vegas and in Utah, the Salt Lake City summer league as well, and I had a great performance during that time. But in reality, it was just like with the positions that were already established in San Antonio, I was like seventh or eighth forward coming off the bench, and as a rookie, I just wasn't going to play. I had Tim Duncan. I think it was Mike Finley, Richard Jefferson. You had Matt Bonner, who was shooting like 70% from the three at the time. Yeah, just a lot of guys in front of me, man. I wasn't going to see the court. Theo Ratliff, Antonio McDyess, they were there. I just had guys that I wasn't just going to see the court in front of just based off of, seniority as well. So what Pop had told me and RC had told me was that I was going to go overseas for a year. They would monitor my progress. They wanted me to be able to play. They didn't want me to, just sit the bench or not get any opportunity to grow as a player. And they wanted me to just be able to grow, and understand the type of game that they play. The system in San Antonio was like a European style of basketball. And so they wanted me to gain that kind of knowledge as well and IQ. And so going to Biella was a plan for me to get minutes, play and get better as a player. And so with that being said, going out there, I didn't really think of the expectation from international part or like what the organization was thinking of. It was just in my mind. I just need to work on myself and get better. I need to understand how the game works. I need to understand, what I can bring to the game defensively, offensively. Those were the things that I needed to do. And then going to the international game, it was kind of like the amount of possessions that you get to be able to kind of put yourself on Front Street for people to see. You don't really get that many opportunities, unless you create the opportunities for yourself. But also, it's just a system. Every possession is valuable. It's limited minutes. The quarters are smaller. The court itself is smaller. In a way, the way that they play defense and things of that nature. The spacing is different. And so that adjustment period was something that I had to get used to. And it took me probably like 2 or 3 months, man. Probably around December was when I got the time, like when I started to understand, where I could be more impactful for the team. And we had a great team. I was surrounded by, veteran guard who's actually a top end agent right now in America, Joe Smith. I think for the Wasserman Group, maybe don't quote me on that, but he's a big agent right now. Reese Gaines, who was a top draft pick for Orlando Magic, played at Louisville. Jonas Jerebko, who ended up getting drafted by Detroit Pistons. He played a long time in the NBA, played for Boston, played for Golden State, bounced around. We had a lot of players that made the game easy and fun. And we played a different style of basketball compared to the rest of the year because as systematic as we were more freelance. We were up and down transition, alley oops, 3-pointers. We were athletic, and so they used to call us a crazy basket team. But to be able to adjust, just to the style of play as opposed to being in the States and especially coming off of the NBA Summer League and all of that, getting ready for the preseason, it was a different style. And that was just something that I had to get used to. But I didn't understand like the expectation to your question. I didn't understand the expectation. I just
Was there like a frustration aspect to it? Like when you like the early on, like the adaptation period, like you said, until December, did it take you like it took you a while to kind of understand like the spacing and understand like what the coach is trying to do, but the frustration aspect that I see a lot of Americans coming in at like the entry level, you know, like coming in as a rookie and then trying to establish yourself, like you said, like you want those possessions, you want that ball in your hand, and you don't get it, and then you have to kind of like they're not going to force feed you in the beginning, but then you got to find your pick your spots. How long did it take you to like was there frustration, and how long did it take you to overcome that and accept it?
I think the frustration for me didn't come on the court. The frustration for me just came with the lifestyle and everything outside of basketball. It was more
Hmm.
so the adjustment to just not like being in America, everything is so convenient. You know, you have everything at your disposal, especially if you're in the NBA. Anything you need, you know, you got it. You go overseas, and especially if you're not a EuroLeague team, you know, you don't necessarily have all the things that you need or whatever. And so going into Italy by myself, not with a real support system for family and friends, you know, something that I have to kind of find on my own now. That was like the biggest adjustment and frustration to everything alongside going into having to deal with a language barrier.
Yep.
I didn't know Italian. I studied Spanish, you know, growing up in school, and there were some similarities in that. But having to just learn that, along with adjusting to the basketball side, I think my frustration more so came to adjusting to everything outside the court. Inside the
Hmm.
court was easier to adjust to because it was just for me. I just wanted to hoop. I was a young player. Say go play defense, okay. Pick and rolls, I could catch alley oops. We could run side pick and rolls. I could shoot. You know, there was opportunities where I could help the offense, and they knew that. And I was athletic enough. I was sparky enough. Everything to be able to contribute in those things. I think my biggest struggle and frustration was just off the court stuff.
Yeah. So did you have veteran mentorship? Because like Kyle Hines when he came over, he had guys that were on the team that were helping him like just kind of string him along, and he was like in Italy's second division, I believe, at that time. And he's
Yeah.
kind of like one year he stayed there, a second year, and just kind of start slowly adapting to the culture, and then start embracing it at some
Yeah.
point because he was
So
from a small town.
I had veteran leadership within my team. Like I said, Joe Smith, he was there for a few years, and I know he was with Biella, and he was a big time player for them as an import that had grown on the culture, and he taught me how to move around in Italy, even in the small city of Biella. He really helped me understand the language. He really helped me understand, you know, even ordering food at a restaurant. You know, simple stuff was like that because in Italy, they have multiple plates. You know, it's not just one thing. You got your primi piatti, you got your, you know, second piatti. They got aperitivo. They got everything, all kind of stuff. And he helped me understand all of that. And then you had Reese Gaines. Reese Gaines, who was one who got drafted to the league. That was like our kind of relationship where it was like, all right, you had the NBA tie, and then just understanding that, okay, now you're over here. You got to move different. You know, there's ways that you got to be able to make yourself valuable within a team. Reese Gaines was another veteran that I had within my team. But then outside of my team, I had David Hawkins, who at the time was playing for Milan. And he went to Temple University. I know he had experience with time in the league as well. He was a high end player in Europe, well paid at the time. But he was a veteran player for me since I was in high school. We're from the same area,
Hmm.
you know. And he helped me understand, you know, what Europe is like in general. Just understanding the lifestyle, and that's having the opportunity to be in the same, you know, country, you know, my first year. That kind of helped a little bit because I had somebody that I recognized, you know, I had some
Yeah. You
familiarity
could
from back
relate to.
home. Yeah, it was back home type thing. So that was another thing, you know, that helped me a little bit during that time. But like I said, for me, it was more the awkward adjustments and lifestyle adjustments, not having the convenience, not having everything and all the people around you that, you know, make things easy, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, so that's also a big thing. Like you said, you came in. I'm wondering always like how much is there with the like the NBA aspect because you were drafted, you play summer league, you go to Europe, and like how much are you thinking more about the NBA than like establishing yourself in Europe? And like up until what point where you're like, all right, like I'm gonna be this, and I don't care about what's gonna happen with the NBA, whether it's gonna happen or not, because it always takes a while, because there's hope. There's a lot of hope when you
Right.
get drafted and then you get stashed, and then you're always thinking of you two places at once, until you probably like just like not giving up on the dream, but establishing yourself where you are 2 feet on the ground instead
Right.
of being on the fence the whole time.
On the fence about it. Yeah. I mean, that was a big jump in my career where that happened. To where there was like a realization of me saying that, all right, I'm not even going to chase this no more. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing.
When
At
was
first,
that?
that was when I got to Panathinaikos, and that was
Yep.
probably like after my like third or fourth year,
Hmm.
honestly. Um, Initially, I again didn't know how the processes worked. I was first generation when it came to getting drafted, when it came to going through the whole process of being overseas, tying it back into Italy. I got a chance to see, my veteran player, Joe Smith, he was the one that we went out to eat one night. He was like, the EuroLeague is on. I didn't have any idea what EuroLeague was at the time. And he was like, it's two teams playing, which was the number one team in our country, Italy at the time was Siena. They were playing and they had Terrell McIntyre, they had Sean Stonerook, they had a lot of guys. I can't remember some of their names, but I
Yeah, I
mean, they
feel
were a
like the
top team and they were
Larinovich brothers.
the Larinovich brothers. Yes, the twins were on the team. Kalkanis, he was a
Yep.
wing player. They had another guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they were amazing. I mean, when we played them in Italy, they were beating everybody by 20, 30 points, like easy. And so I'm thinking in my mind, this is the best team I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, they're playing the team tonight. And this is crazy foreshadowing. Happened to be Panathinaikos. It was the EuroLeague playoffs. And they were playing in Siena. And so we went to go watch the game. And Siena was down by 30 points, 20, 30 points. I'm talking about Panathinaikos. This is when Mike Batiste was there,
Yep.
Yasikavicius was there, Spinolis and Diamantidis. I didn't know these players at the time. Don't get me wrong. It was my first year. I'm out the league. I had no idea that there's even another level of Europe. I'm thinking Italian league. I'm in the top division. I know Milan, and I think it was Virtus Bologna were the two top. No, Rome. Rome and Milan were the two teams that were
Yep.
in
Lotomatico
EuroLeague at
Rome.
the time. Yeah, because Brandon Jennings was playing with Rome that year.
Yep. Yep.
But I didn't understand that there was just a whole nother level of being in Europe. I thought where I was just the top level of being in the country that I was in. And so when I saw that and I saw that the team Panathinaikos was beating Siena the way they were, I said, shoot, if I'm not going to be in the NBA, I at least need to be at that level. Like, I want to play against those teams. Whatever team that is, I have no idea, but I want to be in that league that plays against those teams night in, night out. And that was just foreshadowing to your question about when that came to me was just after everything that I had, gone through career-wise. When I was in Panathinaikos, like my third year, me and my wife were just having a conversation, and she was just like, you are basically at the top of Europe, at your position and where you are right now. You've now signed 2 contracts in Panathinaikos, which is a huge club in Europe. You have a whole country that stands behind you, going to the gym, 20, 30,000 people will chant your name. You are the star player, everything. Like going to the NBA, do you get that? And at this point, and it's like, you're right, there is, something to that. NBA already has their star players. Could I be a player in the NBA that, made itself a fan favorite or, one of the top players? For sure, I probably would have worked to that. But was that going to be the reality in that moment? Probably not. You're going from one high to another, situation. And is it for the logo? Like, what is your why? That's what I look at it. What is your why? Why do you do it? And for basketball, for me, it was to get to the highest point that I could to help teams win. And all of that, and be respected and regarded as such. And I was getting all of that in Panathinaikos. And I also knew that through the way that the NBA works, if they want you, they're going to come get you. They've come and got players mid-season. They've come and got players during the playoffs. They've come and got players during training camp. They've signed players in the offseason. If they want you, the NBA will come get you.
Exactly.
Whether the opportunity, opens up or how it makes sense or, whatever it is. And you can't sit there and gauge your situation off everybody's situation. Everybody's situation is different. As players, your representation through agents and all of that stuff and team dynamics, everything is different. So you can't compare that. But in realizing that and understanding where I was at the time, playing for a top team in Europe, being the top player, if not one of the top players in my position, and doing it for a long time. That was my why.
Yeah.
That was my why. I didn't have to go chase that. I didn't have to go chase that anymore. And I had to come to that realization. And that happened probably like my third year, fourth year in Panathinaikos.
Yeah, that decision. How old are you? You remember your age? Like 27, 6,
Probably
20.
27, 28, thinking
Yeah.
like that.
So like
28.
it takes a while for like a person to mature until that point to make that decision and to really like consciously move on, like and then like you embrace the European career, and that also paves the way for your career, for your name, like to establish yourself and like at the highest level in Europe and be a household name. So like that, if you hadn't had done it, and if you would have pursued, you like you may have been like on the fence and always thinking about like I should be there. I maybe it'll create some frustration internally, and there's just kind of this unhappiness. Whereas, like on the flip side, you embraced it. You were happy. Like you were just kind of like not worrying, like empty mind.
Yeah,
They just kind of embracing
right.
everything the way it's going, and that helped you to propel yourself and propel your career. I think in Europe, just to like reach
Yeah.
reach the highs.
A lot of it is too that like I was in a lot of situations where I had stability. My contract situation where was multiple years. It was never just 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. In the beginning, it was 1 year, 1 year, going from place to place to place. But then it's like, when you start getting older and you start getting more deep into your career, you're trying to find a place that you can call home. And it's like now you find stability. You're getting multiple contracts, and it's like if I'm gonna give this up, to go somewhere, I'm not still trying to chase that train. I've established myself as a player that can play within a system. I've established myself as a player that can help a team win. So it's like if this is what you want, then it comes with stability, I guess. It's
Yeah.
like that's what you look for. And I understand basketball is one of those things that change daily. It changes by night, depending on injuries, depending on player moves. You got the trade deadline coming up in the NBA. So a lot of stuff is going on where things shift. And even in EuroLeague right now, teams are shifting, trying to make those moves so that they can go for the latter part of their season. You just, as a player, you look for stability. You look for stability. You look for where you can actually stay at a certain point.
Yeah.
Bounce around is okay because you're getting paid more, because the contracts and the responsibility is more, and that's what you want as a player. But eventually you just want to be able to say, look, this is where I belong, this is where my namesake is, this is what I've carved out. I'm starting to create my own lane. I don't want to just keep bouncing from team to team to team to team.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and having family also changes probably things, like you said, the stability part that plays into it as well. It just kind of everybody's more at ease, instead of thinking about like, oh, what's going to happen next year, where we're going to go next year. Like, is that going to be again moving? Like there's a lot of things that probably coincide with the family part.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Had my daughter living with me at the time. My wife and I, when we lived in Greece. We got married during the time my son was born in Greece. So even like all of this, stuff that's happening, like you're right, family comes into play. Priorities kind of shift in a way. Basketball is still your main priority, but now it's not just you that you're responsible for. You're responsible for, kids. You're responsible for something, bigger than you.
Yeah.
In regards to chasing your dream, and that goes into consideration with everything. I didn't make any decisions, toward in the middle of my career and towards the later part of my career. I didn't make any decisions when it came to contracts or teams unless my family was considered. Like if I didn't have school situations or help to be able, when I'm out of town, to be around the family like a village. If I couldn't build a village around it, I wouldn't even consider the team if the team didn't consider that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a very hard question for you, and you
Mm.
can you can feel free to not skip it, but maybe like answer neutrally if you want, because that's like I don't want to put you in the position where you can't enter the gym. You play for some of the biggest fan bases like in Europe, like going from Partizan, Fenerbahce, Panathinaikos, Red Star. Like, is there a rank? Is it possible to rank them for you?
To rank them, no. Um, but as far as like experiences and all of that, I could say that like some of my best basketball experiences probably was when I um first got released from San Antonio and played with Partizan. Partizan was a really big team at the time in the EuroLeague. They just came from the Final Four, run with Jan Vesely and I think Bo McCaleb.
Yep.
They lost to Olympiacos. I think Josh Childress made the little layup at the end. And so going in that year, we had a big team coming in with a lot of hype and just that Belgrade, environment. Partizan being that team. I think Dule had just left. He went to Cheska that year. So we had the assistant coach. Vlade was our coach. When I was in Partizan that year. And just that whole experience in itself, the fans, how energetic they were, and just you see what it is now. I got to experience that my firsthand outside the NBA, leaving the States at the high in the EuroLeague. I got to experience that coming out. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into or the organization that I was playing for until I got to witness Pioneer and full, energy. And then I see Belgrade Arena with 25,000, in full energy. That's like, damn, I don't want to play nowhere else,
Yeah.
And then, you got Fenerbahce. When I play with Fenerbahce, that Fenerbahce Gala rivalry and the fan, just the interaction and just how like when your team is rolling, that's the team is behind you. The fans are behind you. Like the energy is crazy in Turkey. The fans are amazing out there. But that year when I was in Fenerbahce, it wasn't the best year as a team. We got eliminated in the top 16. We were supposed to make it to the Final Four. I think Istanbul was the Final Four destination. And they had it at Fener's new arena. I played in the first game for Fenerbahce, the Uka Arena, against Milan. We beat them by 2. And then foreshadowing, we played them the last game of the top 16 and lose by like 16. All we needed to do was win by 1 and we make the top 8. We lose. And so the season we underachieved. That wasn't the best season for us. So the fan base wasn't as strong behind us. It's not the fan base that you see when Obradović took them to the Final Four, what Shadas has right now for them. I wish I got to see that fan base because that's an amazing thing to play for. But from my point of view, I didn't get that. So I couldn't rank that as high as I did like Partizan, who was just like, they loved us. And then you got Panathinaikos, man. When playing for Panathinaikos, that was just, you can't compare. You're playing against 2 of the top, Titans in Europe. You got Olympiacos, you got Panathinaikos. We play at least 10 times a year, whether it's Greek League, EuroLeague, playoffs, all of that cup. You have to consider all of those things. And every time out, it's just crazy. And then imagine you make it to the playoffs. We played Barcelona my first year. In the playoffs, we go to Game 5. Game 4 had 30,000 people in Oaxaca. Never seen anything like that before, And even in all the years that I played, all the hostile gyms and all the teams that I played for, like I would have to put Panathinaikos up there. Just it's. And I spent 7 years there. Yeah. Come on, like there's so many memories there, so I would have to put them up there. And then when I played with Red Star, who was on the other side of Partizan, like I loved the fan base when I played for other teams going to play in Belgrade. When you see Red Star, like I feel like they have the craziest fan base. Like when you watch it just from an aesthetic, just from watching it on TV, watching the camera, being in there, understanding what it's like being an opposing team. Like that's the craziest place to play. When I played for Red Star, it wasn't like that. I don't know what it was. It was like a protest maybe against the organization. And then it happened to be the year that COVID started. So our year was kind of like mumble jumble. And I was a player coming from the opposing team. I played with Partizan. I wasn't fully accepted by the Red Star fans. So it was
You felt it?
Yeah. From the moment that the news got released, I got messages. I got all kind of stuff. And it was like, look, it wasn't any bad feelings of me saying I don't want to go to Partizan. I would have loved to play for Partizan again, but Partizan wasn't in EuroLeague. And Partizan didn't have a position for me to fill. Like they had their position filled. They had players. I wasn't something that they needed at the time. It wasn't anything like that if you look at it from a business standpoint. But from a fan aspect, it's like, oh, you crossed over. It's like, no, this is the opportunity that presented itself. And I would love to come back to Belgrade. So I got that side, and then just from the fan support of the team, it wasn't as strong as it is now or has been in previous years. And so I didn't get the opportunity to play at Belgrade Arena with Red Star like flags and flares and crazy and 30,000 people in there. And I wish I did because I would have loved to be in that type of environment. I love to play for that. that fan engagement, that type of atmosphere where you go into a gym. I was that hype player. I was that energy player. I was the type of player that would set the roof off and make y'all go crazy. So why would I not want to play for that? So in those situations, I would just say Partizan and Panathinaikos were my best experiences. But to be able to play for the clubs like Fenerbahce and the Red Star, and to get those experiences, it's unmatched when it comes to all of them. All of them have the best fan bases in the world. Like
Absolutely.
when it comes down to it.
Yeah, like another one probably to be added to that list probably Maccabi, just in regards to like the noise that you feel like it's just in Maccabi, it's just a different type of noise. It's
I
just so
love playing there.
penetrating.
I love playing there. It's hard to win there too. It's
Yeah.
hard to win there. So, I was able to win when I played with Malaga there. I won a game when I played with Panathinaikos there. Like, it's not easy to win. I think the only place that I never actually got a win in EuroLeague might have been Fenerbahce. I feel like as a EuroLeague player, the only place that I didn't win was at Fenerbahce. I won at every other arena. Baskonia was difficult, but when you look at Maccabi, not a lot of teams go in there and get a win, especially when they're full roster, they're full fan base, they're full everything. It is hard to go in there and win.
Yeah, I remember like talking about Panathinaikos. I remember when I was with Ceska and we were preparing for the Final Four, and I was doing advanced scouting, which is probably like one of the like maybe one and only in Europe to have like advanced scouting team. And Maccabi had somebody that was doing it, but I went to a game. I think it was game five, maybe say game five at Owaka against Maccabi in the final, and like to get to the Final Four, and that was ridiculous. Like I was walking in, I grew up in Germany, so I'm like following the line and staying in line and waiting and not cutting anybody, and I'm like trying to get through, like waiting a line to get to the arena and inside, like get to the gate and then trying to get to my seat, but it's just clogged up at the staircase, and then just like I'm waiting because I'm thinking it's gonna move. 10 minutes, nothing is moving. I'm like, oh, I actually like have to walk through there to get to my seat because the staircase is done. Like
it's done for. Standing room only. Standing
Yeah.
room only. It's crazy you say you grew up in Germany. I grew up there. I went first to fourth grade there. My dad was military, so I stayed in Germany during those years.
Where,
I moved
like
to
around Mannheim?
We were at Spangala Air Force Base, so we were like close to Trier, not too far from Trier. We were in the Benelux region.
Interesting.
I remember going to Garmisch while I was out there, where they filmed The Sound of Music and Austria and all these kinds of places, like seeing all this stuff. Ramstein Air Force Base wasn't too far from us either. We would take trips out there to visit other families that we're still close to this day. But yeah, I lived in Germany for 4 years.
Wow. Yeah. And then you played in Germany too.
I did for Bayern Munich, man. Played with the first team to make the EuroLeague playoffs. That was lit. That was an experience with Trick Carey, a young Wade Baldwin. It was dope, just being in that environment after COVID too, coming out there to try to help a team, progress and win. That was dope. That was a dope experience.
I remember I was growing up, and then I was playing in Germany after my college years, and we were up north, and there was like a military base, Bremerhaven. Like there was like a area where Americans went, like this American bar, and they had American sweets. And at that time, you go up there. That was the only place. Now you can get Reese's anywhere, but back then we'd go up there just to get those chicken wings and the hot sauce, and then you buy Pop-Tarts, you buy the Reese's, Butterfingers, you rack up for the week, and then you get out of there. That was like that. The military bases were the best.
That's hilarious. Yeah, man, for sure. Like I remember all the Christmas markets and the festivities that they would have around the holidays. I mean, the Oktoberfest, where they just had the big pots and the rides and all the wine tasting, everything. I remember all of that from my childhood. That was certain things that I got to experience. And that kind of made my transition, honestly, easier when I played in Europe as a professional. Getting to experience that stuff as a kid, with my dad being military and having to grow up, in Germany. Yeah, we lived on the base, and so that was real Americanized. Everybody spoke English on the base, but once you leave the base and you go outside, you're in Germany. Everybody speaks German. Nobody's really speaking English. So we would walk around with my parents. I remember my parents walking around with a little yellow book that would translate stuff, and they try to talk to people and trying to understand, where we could go, asking for directions, just driving, just all of those experiences. It helped me adjust, I would say, faster to the lifestyle in Europe. And maybe, that was something that helped me get through that wall early on. And a lot of players probably that didn't get that experience or don't understand that that's what happens when you go over to Europe, especially after being in the States, going through college or going through the NBA and now having to deal with Europe.
Yeah.
There are some things, roadblocks, barriers, things that you got to be able to deal with and manage on your own. I was able to facilitate that, and I think that made it easier for me. And that could be a big struggle for a lot of people.
That makes sense because you had a realization that there is something different out there. It's not all like the American way of doing things, but you already had in your DNA kind of like you had also already an understanding that there's a different way of doing things.
Right. You got to think like the American mentality, which is crazy and sad to say, is that, is the best way. They think that everything that they do is the best, and when it comes to the way the world works, it doesn't just work one way. It works a million ways. And it might not be how you're used to it, but it works, and you have to be able to understand that, adjust to that, and accept that and be cool with that. And when you do say that it works in multiple ways, it just opens your horizon to how life is, how the world functions and things like that. And that was just one of the things, like, think about it. In America, you can have on your lights, you can have the TVs, you can have your microwave going, you can have your dishwasher and your stove and your washing machine, all that stuff going, video games, everything going at the same time. If you do that, I did that in Italy. I had just the lights on in my kitchen. I think I had the washer and dryer going, and I was playing my Xbox. And as soon as I turned on the lights in the back, everything went dark. Blew the box, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, damn, the whole apartment is dark. I done blew the fuse because I had too much stuff going at one time. Now I'm thinking if I was in America, I'd just call somebody, hey, lights is out, what do I do? In Italy, you got to figure that out. Nobody's coming to your house at 11 o'clock at night. You're going to have to worry about this either tomorrow or at the end of the week whenever somebody's available to do it. But they will give you a step-by-step. I talked to the manager. He said, look, you got to go all the way downstairs in the basement, flip a switch in the thing, and it should work and stuff like this, but you can't have everything going at one time. But I had to figure that out on my own. I didn't have anybody to help me with that. You might have somebody come over that after a bad practice, coach got on them and they didn't have a good day. Games were bad that week. I don't know, food, restaurants, whatever. It's just a bad day. If you come home and deal with that, first thing they doing is calling their agent, get me the hell out of here. I'm gone. I don't want to be here no more. You feel me? Like, things like that happen. And it's understandable. Very understandable. I get it. But, I was fortunate enough to be able to deal with those situations and work through it.
And that's the difficult part, I think, going for a lot of players coming in and going outside of their comfort zone and starting to deal with adversity that they're not used to dealing with like that. And then like sometimes it's easy just to throw the towel in and just say like, F it, I'm out of here. Just not like, because a lot of times you're also, you can come in pampered and thinking like your people are supposed to jump around you and help you all every step of the way. But at some point there's also a realization that like, you got to be self-sufficient and understand of like where to what degree people can help you and to what degree you have to take care of it yourself and then and there's a lot of things also talking about the cultural difference and understanding embracing it. Same thing as embracing and understanding European coaching versus American coaching. Did you have like an adjustment early on, like through Bela, but then later on, like you had a vast variety of different coaching in Europe. Yeah. Was there like an adjustment problem with that regard, European coaching versus American?
For me, I've never been the type of player that had an issue with coaching. I was always easy to integrate into any system. I was the type of player that wanted to do anything to help a team win. And I knew what I could contribute, whether it was defensively or offensively. I knew what I could contribute. And every system and every coach that I played for, I've found a way to be able to, help a team, whether that was in the States or whether that was in Europe. I think the difference is that the level that you play at. Like when I played at Biella wasn't the same level as playing at Kuban, Lokomotiv Kuban. Mm-hmm. That was just a different level. Kuban wasn't the same level as playing at Partizan. Partizan wasn't the same level as playing at Fenerbahce, when it comes to the expectation and what they're looking for in the club and how they represent themselves and how they run themselves and what's expected of you as a player. Like it's different levels of it. And so that was probably the biggest adjustment was that I don't want to say the tolerance for bullshit, but I guess the expectation.
Yeah.
The expectation. Like when I got to Panathinaikos, you couldn't lose a game.
Yeah.
You lose a game, it's like a
it's a different
funeral.
standard. It's a different standard. Yeah,
Yeah, like
all drama
when
every
I was
loss.
playing in Biella, it was like, oh, like in the beginning of the season, they had us finishing 18th. They had us getting relegated to the second division. And we just so happened to be better than what everybody expected. We made it to the semifinals that year. We eliminated Rome in the first round of the playoffs, the team that Brandon Jennings played for, which was a EuroLeague team. Our budget, I feel like, was $800,000. Like we weren't even supposed to be in that situation, but we played great that year. We ended up matching up with Milan in the semifinals, and I'm gonna put this out there, as players, we were just done from the season. We felt like we have exhausted everything that we could offer. We weren't supposed to be here. We showed that we were capable of doing it, and we were just like, we don't have nothing left. Like we were done with the season. Milan ended up going on to the finals, and I think they played Siena and lost to Siena. But that just went to like our expectation. It wasn't so high. We achieved what we were supposed to do. And the team was like, if we lost, it wasn't a problem. When I played for certain teams, like if you lost, it wasn't the end of the world. And I played for teams where you better not lose. If you lose, you're on the hot seat. We have a player coming right now on his way over, and he's got an apartment that you have no idea about, and he's waiting to be here at practice tomorrow because you haven't been able to, stand up to the standard of the team. So, like when it comes to coaching, I think it more so is the standard of the organization that you play for. The styles now, I play for so many different styles. I play for coaches that feel like less is more. Like you don't need so much video, you don't need so much scouting. You just need to go and play free. Like if you play free, you have quicker reaction and things like this. Yeah. In some regards that works, but when you get to a certain level, like you got to be prepared in certain ways. You got to know what your defense is going to do. You got to know how you're going to attack. I feel like so. Whether the freelance thing works or not, in some regards maybe, but like I said, when you get to a certain level, and then I play for some coaches like Xavi, man, he's the one coach that I feel like probably was the most technical out of everybody, where he had a playbook with more than 100 plays.
Yep.
You can't scout that. You can't scout that. And as a player, you have to know that. Like you have to know these plays, you have to know these moments. He teaches you to read the game, and all of these things are reads and all of this stuff. But it's all scenarios that you have to be able to log in. And so if you're a player that can't do that, you can't keep a lot of plays in your head. You don't understand situations and time and scoring things, and you can't play in that coach like that. You probably better assess on a coach that allows for less plays, more freelance, and all of this stuff, less technicality. I played for all kind of coaches like that. I played for coaches that allow you to run and play. I played for coaches that are strictly half court and system. College and Gary Williams, we ran the flex. We had options outside, and we were a fast break, high tempo team, but our main offense was flex. So it was a system. I understood how to manipulate the defense,
Yeah.
That was never an issue for me as a player to adjust to a coach.
That's a good trait for a player, because a lot of times there's like a lot of adjustment process, because you're like used to, either you don't have good instincts, or you have a trouble to play free basketball, and then you're just always behind the play, or you don't have good brain power, not the processor you need, and especially in Europe, then you're always trailing the play that everybody else gets the teammates frustrated, gets the coach frustrated.
And that's the thing too, though. You got to understand that, like, my situation, my scenario is specific to me, but in the totality, a lot of players come up through the AAU system. A lot of players come up through where it's just freelance, run and gun. When you come overseas, it's more organized. Every possession has a point. You have a purpose on what you're trying to do. There's an economy.
The value of the possession is different.
Yeah. You're trying to build an economy of the game. Like what you're trying to do in the beginning of the game is trying to set up. It's like chess. You're trying to set up for the end of the game. You're not going to show you a full hand in the first quarter or the second or the first half. You're going to adjust at halftime, and they're going to show what you really want to do in the second half. Things of that nature. And it's more technical. And in the States, it's more free. It's more highlight. Now you have coaches that are more technical and still run the plays and still are about attacking. Now, those are the teams that pretty much have longevity, and the coaches that are really respected. Those are the teams that go on long at the end of the season. But in general, what you get from coming from America is the up and down, the run and gun. You don't get that slow it down on a half court. We got and within the shot clock, we got to attack this one player. This one player every time. It doesn't matter who he's guarding. This one player has to be in every possession. And you're coming over like, no, I want to shoot the ball. Like, this is what I want to do. It doesn't work with how the team functions and how it works overseas and the way that we attack. Now, you see that later on in the finals of the NBA. Let's say the Final Four, you see that, the tactic part of it with the teams like that. But a lot of the players and the majority of the players don't play like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the teams and a lot of the systems don't go for that, you know?
All right. Halftime show. ProBallers.com is going to be doing our halftime show today. I'm going to share my screen with you. And have you seen the movie Saw?
Saw? Yeah. Like, do you want to play a game?
Yeah. Do you want to play a game? Yeah. All right. I'm going to put in your name in ProBallers.com. And so we're going to go through your teammates a little bit.
Okay.
And there's a search button. You can go through teammates, opponents, and for everybody who's just listening and not watching, I'm in the teammates section right now. And can you guess the teammate that you played the most games with? Maybe you can guess like the top three or one of
the most games with.
Yeah, together throughout your career.
Nick Galatas had to be one of them.
All right, one. What's the other two?
Stefan Lasme. Most games with? That's a good one, man.
Yeah, it must be. You want to reveal?
Yeah, you got to reveal that one, man.
Yeah, Nikos Papas.
Nikos Papas, wow.
Nikos Papas. Kalathis was the number 2 and Diamantidis number 3.
Yeah, Nikos was there my second year from Powell and the whole way through. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all Panathinaikos, and Roko Ukic was Panathinaikos and Fenerbahce. So you got like collective games there with him.
Right. I know I had 2 years in Powell with Roko, and I had 1 year in Fener. That's why I was thinking of him.
Yeah, that adds to it. But yeah, 225 with Nikos and 215 with Nicolas. It's close. And can you guess the opponents you played against the most?
Opponents I played against the most?
Yeah, opposing player.
Spanoulis.
Olympiacos is right. I mean, I already looked at it beforehand, but Olympiacos is the right team. Think about the matchups you had to face.
This is just teams or players?
No, players, but like just the one-on-one matchup that you faced the most.
So then it would probably be Printezis or Kyle Hines.
It was Printezis, Spanoulis, Manzares. So like Printezis, I was thinking like that's probably like that the matchup that you saw each other the most. Kyle Hines up in there.
Yeah. See, with Kyle Hines, he played in multiple teams. So I saw him in Cheska, I saw him in Olympiacos, I saw him in Milan.
Yeah.
Printezis, I guarded him, but Spanoulis, I mean, I say Spanoulis because I guarded that position too. I guarded 1 through 5.
Yeah, you were switching everything. I remember. Printezis is 40 games and Spanoulis 38. So it's just kind of
wow. Yeah, man. We had some battles. Like I said, we played like 10 times a year. 10 times a year.
So everybody
and every game was like life or death. You couldn't lose one.
Yeah, was that the game also when were you at the game when Kyle Hines received the flare after halftime when he got hit by a flare?
That was my first year in the cup.
Welcome.
Finals. Yeah, man. Like that was the one time they let both fans into the gym. And from that moment, I knew that both fans could never be in the gym. Yeah. Like there's never an opportunity. And that goes to like what we were talking about earlier, when you say what the rivalries were like with Fenerbahce and Gala. You could see Gala fans in the gym with Fenerbahce fans, you know, even if they had a small section. With Partizan and Red Star, they would have a section for them. You would never have that in Panathinaikos and Olympiacos. Never. Never. There would never be a section for Panathinaikos fans to be in South, and there would never be a section for Olympiacos fans to be in Oaxaca. Like, and if there was the game, it would be an issue. Something would happen. Couldn't happen.
Yeah, it's not a death sentence, but it's probably a sentence like better have some security and some like security is an understatement, but probably like
Not enough security, man. It's
yeah.
not enough security. The owners have enough money to pay the fines. It's like it's just you just can't let it happen. You
Yeah.
can't let it happen. They don't like each other. They don't like each other that much.
So let's go into your retirement a little bit, preparing yourself for retirement and going into your next stage of your life. Because there's so much identity associated with athletes, and that's my like one of my like favorite topics to talk about in terms of I had to stop early because I was injured and my body's just a mess. But in regards to finishing career, getting to the end of it, and you leaving an old identity behind and accepting a new one, was there any kind of issues of like certain things that you had trouble letting go of and then accepting new things in your life? Was there like a little disconnect between the two identities?
For me, the biggest thing was that I felt like I still had a lot to offer to the game physically. I feel like I could still contribute, at a high level to help a team win. And not having the opportunity to do that before I was like, all right, I'm done. That kind of bothered me the most. Um, but at the same time, I think that I've known for at least like the last 6, 7 years that I wanted to get into coaching. I know that I wanted to be a head coach one day and win, as I did as a player. It's always been a goal of mine, motivation of mine, is to just have my own thing and teach a team how to win as I want. Um, I realized that I'm at that time now. I don't have any more to offer to the game. Right now, I'm just playing it just to play it. I'm playing it just because the team will pay me to come out here. And that was never my motivation. My motivation was always to play to win, and to win something big and to help teams win. And once I seen that, okay, I wasn't doing that anymore, you know, okay, it's time to shift. Now I want to teach. And so for me, that shift, it happened smooth because I was able to walk out on my own terms. My last season was in Indonesia. Um, and I was able to, say, I could walk away from it smooth. Like it wasn't because of injury or anything like that. It really was because I want to teach the game. And I think that if I don't start now, like when am I going to start?
So it was an easy transition to let go of that, like in terms of having, like because you started Uruguay, then Indonesia, and then you just kind of said like that's it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, because it was like for so long, I played again. Like I said earlier, stability was a huge thing for me. Being able to sign somewhere, play somewhere, help a team from start to finish. When I signed in Uruguay, my goal was to be out there for the year, but I ended up getting hurt like within my third week out there. Had a minor injury that kept me sidelined for about a month, and the team wasn't willing to, wait that time, especially because I had just got out there. They just contractually what they were willing to do and how long it would take me to get back healthy to help the team win to a certain point. They weren't trying to do it. So I fell into a situation where I kind of had to figure it out. And I was able to pick up another team in Indonesia. They showed interest, and I was able to go out there and play and help the team out there. And that season went all the way through August. I didn't even know that before signing. I saw my contract went from January or February when I signed out there all the way through July. So I thought the end of the season was like end of June, July, like playoffs. We get into July and they're like, yo, we still got like a month or some change left. My contract doesn't go that far, So I'm like, okay, what's going to happen as far as this goes? So I wasn't able to finish the season out as far as that because they needed to sign a new player. My contract was finished. They weren't going to extend it for the playoff part. And in my mind, I was just like, yo, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go from team to team to team to team to team just because I want to play basketball. I love the game so much. And I know that any team that I play for, I'm going to help them, be better, help them try to win a championship. It's just what it is. And in that moment, I was like, this isn't happening. And I know that there's more that I can offer to the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's at some point like it is probably frustrating and sad, like in that moment because you want to contribute and you want to play and you want to win, But at the same time, if you can't have the stability, like the guarantees of like a 2 year or 2+1 contract, it's kind of, it makes
Yeah,
it tough on everybody. And then that can bring
right.
more frustrations that you really can ask for, and you don't.
Right.
And
Even at that time, it was just a full year. It wasn't even looking for a multi-year. I'm looking
you,
just for a full season. Let me go from start to finish. Like I could, there was never a situation where I got on a team and it was like, you're not good enough, get out. Malaga was the one team that I played for, and I got traded to Panathinaikos. That was just how that played out, and I ended up in Panathinaikos for 7 years out of that.
yeah,
But I never stopped playing in the middle of the season at any point. And so that's also how a lot of the players that play overseas, that's how it goes. They go from team to team to team to team to team. I was in a fortunate situation to always be in a contracted situation and have
hmm
multiple years to be able to stay in a place, and I had to figure out where I was going to play the next season after the next season after the next season. It was fortunate for me, but when it got to that point, especially in the later years of my career, when I'm already established, when I've already got family stability, career stability, all of this stuff, it was like, what is my why? What is my motivation? Why am I still doing this? And is there anything else that I can do to offer? Now that my kids are growing up, I want to live through them. I don't want them to live through me. My daughter, she's in high school now. She does track and field. She's amazing. Now she's finding her own identity. And so being able to be a part of that and see her grow through that, that's, big for me, with also being able to still contribute to the game of basketball. I can do that by teaching, by playing. I'm out of the way right now. And I know even when getting into coaching, it takes time away from family as well. But at the end of the day, I can still contribute. And I feel like I can contribute more like that. That's why it's easy for me to walk away.
that's mature, I would say. Like it's a really, like, it would take a lot for me. It would have taken a lot to really let go. I had to let go because of my body, but like, just like being in you, trying to put myself in your shoes, just to kind of let go of that. When you still want to compete, you still want to win, and that feeling, the exhilarating feeling of like in front of 20, 30,000, like it's something that I can't even imagine, like that. If,
Yeah.
especially if you're, I was always an emotional player, but if you're like emotional and you just kind of, you thrive on that, that's something that
Right.
you want to cherish forever.
It's also these players too. Don't get me wrong, man. This generation of players is different than what we grew up like. And so playing alongside the players, I don't have the patience. I don't have the
Well, so what
patience to
triggered
play
you the most? What triggered you the most with the younger generation?
um the unwillingness to work hard or the entitlement.
Hmm.
It was the unwillingness to work hard, the entitlement. It's like you feel like you're owed this right now. Everything is a now. Everybody wants now, now, now. Instant
Hmm.
gratification as opposed to going through, the steps that you need to take to be able to reach that platform. Growing up, we always had to wait our turn. There was always somebody ahead of you. Going into high school, you were a freshman. The seniors had done 4 years of work. They owed
Hmm.
all these opportunities. It is their time to shoot. It is their time to be on the court. And you do have to play maybe 5 minutes this game. Now you got kids that they don't play, and all of a sudden it's an issue. It's like, oh, why am I not playing? Why? It's not your time. Maybe this game didn't, suit you, but also the practices that you've been doing leading up to this haven't showed that you're ready to play. We can't put you in situations like this yet, but these are things that now, if you have these conversations with these players, they can shut down. You lose a player. Before we
Hmm.
didn't shut down. We just took it on the chin and we was like, all right, I'll just wait my turn.
Hmm.
Or like in the moment, some players they get blocked. They get blocked and they just get, tunnel vision. They're just gonna do what they want to do, whether it's self-destruction or not. And for me, I was always a player in the locker room that was about accountability. And I didn't have a problem with players holding me accountable. I didn't have a problem with coaches holding me accountable, but I was going to do the exact same thing.
Hmm.
And it always happened in a respectful way, and it always happened in the locker room. It was never something that went outside. But at the same time, as a player growing up, when you try to have these conversations with this new generation now in the locker room, let's say, and as a teammate, it can be regarded as, hate, or it could be regarded as like they don't like me. And it's
Hmm.
not that. It's basketball. We're talking basketball. It's not about anything personal. This is about winning the game. It's about betterment of the team. And as a player, I need you to be on point now. As a coach, I can understand that you need more time to get to that point, and I can teach you how. As a player, we're in the trenches. We're at war. I don't have time for you to keep missing your assignment on defense. I don't have time for you to keep missing the fact that we got an open play in the corner. You're not making that extra pass, whatever it is. Like, we got to be on point to help this game go. Those are the things that I held accountable in the locker room. And so as a player, get into the later years of my career, you would run into more and more. I'm just the only guy in the locker room doing that. It's not 3, 4, 5 of us anymore. I'm the only one in the locker room doing that. So it's like, man, you're just wasting energy trying to get through to these kids that don't really want to hear it, or to these places that aren't really like, that's not their goal. And my goal as a player was always to win. I always had a level of mentality that I went into a season with. Like, I go in to try to win. I don't care if our team looks like this. And we're not expected to do anything. When I come into work and I come into play, and when I'm coming to help this team, my goal is that we're going to win this game. We're going to have a chance to try to win the championship at the end. Whether we can make the playoffs or not, or how the season plays off, I don't know, but that's my mentality. So I'm allergic to the opposite, to people that are just like, we're just going to come in and play. You know, it's just okay. You know, that loss isn't so bad. You know, we got more games. Like, nah, I never liked that. And so I used to feel that more and more as a player. And that's when I was like, you know, I can step away and I could teach this. I could teach like how we could do it. You know, I could teach how it should work. If you don't get it now, okay, we come back tomorrow, do it again. Like, I'm cool with that. But as a player, I ain't have the patience anymore.
And that reminds me of a quote that I just read or I heard on a podcast yesterday. Was cultivate an allergy to average. You just allergic to average. That's how I feel about it. And just realizing whenever people are being average, and it I, I had some blow ups as a coach. I had, because I had a lot of frustration build up because of my early exit. And
Mm-hmm.
then that naturally kind of manifested itself in those frustrations when like the same thing as you, like when I see guys just BSing around and not like really
Yeah.
like complaining, crying, and then it's just kind of it builds up, and at
Right.
some point it explodes because of frustration, the competitiveness, like you see the differentiation between right and wrong. I can't handle it. That's why the coaching aspect, and that's the difficult part, to really control your emotions. At some point, yeah, you're gonna have to blow up, but if you do it too often, you're gonna lose them too.
You're
So
gonna
you
lose
like
them.
you gotta
Right.
balance it out. And another, yeah, go ahead.
It's a balance, but it's also the message that you're sending. You know, some people, they have an idea that they want to get across, but they don't know how to deliver the message, and it doesn't get across, you know, and accepted in a way. I've had the ability to just be around so many different kinds of people, so many different kinds of coaches, be coached in so many different kinds of systems. Like, I understand how to deal with people. I understand how to talk to people. I understand. I went to school for that. You know, like, just as far as communication is just one of my things. It's one of my better points. Is being able to deliver messages that, you know, people either may believe or they just understand or they get it. It has sense. And it's like, all right, we'll try it out. And then when you see it works, and then it works like that. You know, it's how it goes. But sometimes it's the way that you deliver these messages and the way that people try to get these things across is where the block comes in.
Hmm.
And right now you have a divide with the old school way of playing and the new school, right? Like, everybody hates on the 80s and the 90s, and it's all about the early 2000s and the new 2000s now and stuff like this. But at the end of the day, like, there's a bridge in this moment. You have a lot of younger coaches right now that are coming up, like a JJ Redick, who I really think is a really good coach. You know, he's in a situation right now where he's dealing with a lot of stuff that he has to manage. But I think in general, he is a good coach. He understands. You know, you have a lot of these young coaches coming up, like an Ime Udoka, like, that are just good coaches. And these are the bridge between that old generation and the new generation. You can still relate. You can still get these messages across, and you can still talk to them and get them to understand, like, how this stuff works in order to win and play the game in the right way. Um, it's one of those things that I'm looking forward to, because I am a part of that gap. I played against these guys in college. I played against these guys through professional. I've been coached by, you know, you see Spanulis and Shadas. Like, I played against these guys, and now they're coaches. Like, this is the shift that's happening. This is the tide that's happening. And you see that right now you have a great group of guys that are stepping into a coaching position, and it's actually beneficial to the game of basketball.
Yeah, like in like you said, if you're able to transfer the message that you're trying to send, and the way you try. But one thing I was like thinking also about, like the change of generations, you must have witnessed the change in locker room from like no phone to phones in the locker room.
Yeah, I did. That's funny too. Because I remember playing in PAL. I'm not gonna say the player, but I remember playing in PAL. Used to go in the locker room, and the first thing he would do was pick up his phone. And he'd just be on his phone the whole time until the coach come in and say a speech. And even when the coach locked in the locker room, it wasn't like he would put down his phone. He's on it until they're just like, hey. And he's like, all right, put the phone down. And in my mind, I'm like, yo, what are we doing here? Like, are you serious? Like, and now it's like a whole generation. It's like, why can't I be on my phone? Like, where is the distraction of this? And why is it an issue? Why is it a situation? But also with the shift in the game of when I started, there was the traditional big man. You had the big man in the post that you would throw it to, like a Stanko Baric, or you had Sophocles, who was there. You had Nene Kristic, like you had bigs that you would throw it to in the post that would actually dictate the offense to just now being undersized bigs where we're playing, 5 out, we're playing 4 out, 1 in. Everything's alley oops now. You can't really play the 2-on-2 defense anymore. You have to play switching defense. And now
the Kyle Heinzes of the world came in.
Yeah, that was the shift that I was a part of. I was a part of that. Like the Kyle Hines, the Stefan Lasmes, Othello Hunter, you could throw him in there, as far as the undersized bigs, they weren't expected to be like, not a 7-foot, but you could come in, you could switch on the pick and roll, you could defend very well on the perimeter. You could
Alex Tyus also.
Positions.
Alex Tyus was a big one.
Yeah, another one, you feel me? The undersized big position became really prevalent during that time. And now you're seeing the shift back to where we're getting a traditional big man in a certain way. You got Jokic, you got Embiid, where you see those guys are just real dominant within the paint. Wemby is now taking it to a whole nother level. It's like you had your dominant big in the paint. Now you have somebody that can step out and be in the paint and all over the court. So you're seeing the game change in so many different ways. But I've definitely been a part of transition and being a part and effective during those eras.
So one more thing, a couple more things, but one big thing about the past, was this something that you had to unlearn, like from when you like stopped playing to like coaching now, and like certain habits or certain thought processes that you had as a player that you couldn't use or couldn't be a part of you in your new roles?
As a coach, for me, the biggest thing that I've kind of been adamant about is not stepping on the court with the players, like to play like competitively.
Okay.
For one, because I didn't walk away from the game because of injury. I didn't walk away from the game because I couldn't play no more. I can still play. It's not about me trying to show you I can play. It's about me trying to teach the game. And right now you have young players that are trying to come up and find their way. I've had my heyday. I've lived my career being drafted, playing at the top university, being recruited by all kinds of people, all of that, playing all over the world. I don't have to prove anything as far as playing. Now I just want to teach. And so the biggest thing that I kind of had to step away from is like not trying to meet that mentality of let me show you that I'm better than you. Because I don't want to break nobody's confidence. I don't want to break nobody's mentality. I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to show you the way. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, yo, come on, let's play. Let's do this. And it's like, I'm too competitive as a player. Like, you really do your research. You really understand who I am as a player. There is no turn-off button once I get into that mode and once I start playing. I don't know how to slow it down, So, like, I'll get to playing and it might start out as fun as game, but I'm really competitive. And even as a coach, like, I'll be competitive in that aspect as wanting to win and to be just able to out-coach other coaches or strategy or whatever it is. Like, I'll be competitive in that aspect. But the biggest thing that I probably had to pull away and adjust is taking myself out of the physical and being there more for the mental. It's like, I can still play. Yeah, we can go do shooting games and stuff like this. But as far as playing competitive, I don't want to do that. You're like, you don't want to know. I'm trying to protect you from me. Like, it's cool. I still recognize that about myself, that I still got that fire to play because I can. And it's like, it just is. I really want to coach though.
That's a good quote. I'm trying to protect you from me. Because you have no idea.
I mean, you look at LeBron, he's in the league, he's 42 right now, right? Yeah. I'm 39, man. Like, I'm not 40 yet. I didn't have any crazy injuries. My knees still work, my feet still, everything. I'm physically fine. Yeah. I still have everything that I can play with in the game. To do it for, to put a team on my back, no. but you want to play these one-on-ones real quick or 3-on-3 real quick, man, I don't want to break your confidence as a player. I'd rather just teach you certain things that'll help you be better.
So are you doing the EuroLeague coaches?
Yes. I've been doing the EuroLeague Coaches Academy, and I've been doing also the Future Basketball Operations Stars Academy for the NBA. Been doing that this past since November. I was when it started up, and then I'm also coaching high school basketball at my alma mater. I'm an assistant coaching for the varsity team, so it's like a full circle moment of being able to do that, stay active, but also just trying to build a path for me to get my foot in this door. And I'm really trying to do coaching at a serious level, whether it's college, NBA, Europe. I'm really trying to teach the game. Really trying to teach the game. That's always been my motivation.
That is cool. What's been the biggest realization so far as a coach? Like when you like from theory on at the academy part online to in practices and going and being an assistant coach, giving advice and giving the pointers that you see. What have been the biggest realizations so far?
I think the biggest realization for me, as far as being an assistant, is that your advice isn't always going to be heard. You kind of just you have to be cool with offering up the information, and if it's taken, then cool. If it's not, then it is what it is. Whether it's right or wrong, it is what it is. And then also when it comes to the players, that everybody's just not going to be saved. Everybody's not going to be, the one, even though they may feel like it, even though you may feel like it for them. Everybody, it's a small percentage of players that actually make it on to the next level, or that actually, continue to stay on. And it's always a growing process. And like now I'm in high school, what I'm dealing with is the realization that high schoolers are starting to be, kind of moved out the way because of the way college is going. Mm-hmm. You got NIL, you got them bringing European players over, you got them bringing players from the G League up, you got this portal, the transfer portal that has like 3, 4, 5,000 kids in it just waiting to be picked up. Like, where is the spot for the high schoolers now? Yeah. Like college used to be that. Now it doesn't seem like that unless you're the top cream of the crop 5-star. Like if you're like a Jordan Smith or like a Baba Olatunji who's premier, and they're going to be able to play at the next level now. Majority of y'all aren't going to be able to make it, so you have to find other ways to be able to get in. There's still ways that you can do it, but you have to be able to navigate those areas and be around the right people to push you in those areas. And it doesn't seem like all the resources are available, but it also seems like that the players don't feel like that's reality. It's like I'm trying to tell you because I went through it. I'm telling you how it has to go and which way you should go, with these things. But, with the parents and with the players, you're starting to understand that, okay, this is going to be a select few that might get through, that might not get through. And then the ones that you try to help, they're not all going to meet up to your expectation, and that's okay. As long as you do it from a good place, your integrity is in the right place, everything is with a good intent, you continue to move on through it. I'm learning that stuff right now. I'm enjoying the process though, because with the information and the knowledge that I get to tell these players day to day through practice or through film, or just through actual things that happen in the moment. Like I get to see them accept it, take it, and use it, and it work. That's great satisfaction for me, to see that, or to see a player say, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. That really helped me. I'm working on this now. For me, I don't ever want a player to leave anything that I've touched and say that they weren't ready or they weren't prepared. Mm-hmm. That's like a big X on me if that were to happen and say, oh, I didn't know this or I wasn't prepared. You see a lot of players now that just aren't prepared for the next level. They don't either know terminology or they don't know certain scenarios, certain play actions, things like this. And it's like, no, you have to know these things. Or when it comes to training and preparation, these are the things you're supposed to be doing, all the time. And this is what you really want to do. These are the things you have to do. Nobody taught me that as a young player. I had to learn that on my own. But now that I know it and I've seen it and I've gone through it and I see how the best of the best do it, it's free game. Now I'm trying to teach everybody that. Teach everybody.
But that's like that. I think, and I always tell people, like, coaching grassroots or like younger guys, whether it's high school or college, like that's the most emotional gratification you can get when you see younger guys picking up what you tell them and getting better and accepting it and changing and being appreciative. Like that emotional gratification you get from that is priceless.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy that a lot, especially because it's like I question if what I know really is that good. And so I like want to, I'm competitive even with myself with it. It's like, so I want to see, does this work? Even when I get a chance during the season, writing up after timeout play, like coach is looking like, what we got to do, what we're going to run. Oh, boom, let's see if this works. Boom. I'm like 4 out of 5 this season. I'm keeping track. And it's like, yeah, it works. The players took it, and like a lot of it is too where they say, the players don't have IQ. They don't have IQ. They don't have IQ. Kids and young players are growing up that are trying to be professional and have aspirations to do it. They're resilient. They can pick up on a lot of things very easy, a lot easier than we could growing up, and it's crazy if you give them the task. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of it comes from the people that are actually instilling the information. They don't have the patience to do it. They don't necessarily want to do it. And so now it's impacting the kids and not knowing it. But you have kids that go to these prominent schools and these academies that are learning, like they can take on a lot of information. Like if you take the time to actually break it down to them like these European academies do, and like they do overseas, where it's about the fundamentals and they strictly go about the fundamentals of how to get open, how to set up a play, the timing of the play, all of these things. You take the time to do that over and over and over. I think that it definitely will improve the IQ of the players. But a lot of it overall is based off of talent. These players are good enough to do these things without having to give them too much instruction. It's the ones that aren't as talented, but you need to get them to be able to make the picture look whole. That's my thing. And I enjoy that, man. I enjoy that. Like that's a for me, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it through the camps and clinics that I've been running over the past couple of years. To now being in a coaching position, I was never on that side. I wasn't in the room where you're talking about lineups and you're talking about your rosters and you're talking about how players fit and why this player don't fit. And as coaches, you guys got to debate why this thing, like all of that stuff. It's I love that shit. I love that shit. Excuse my language. Yeah. But being in it now, I'm more motivated to learn more and just do more to help, this next generation of players come up. As a player, I didn't think about all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I just came in and worried about what I had to do, how I walk in, and what my stats look like at the end, and did we win or lose? Those are the only things I thought about. But as a coach, you think about all kind of stuff that impact everything. And so that's just something that I like.
Yeah, those conversations are really like, if they're fruitful too, like you get to a point because you're discussing so many things, and then sometimes what I hated was just like talking in circles a lot of times. Like you keep repeating certain things and you end up at the same thing that you kind of start off with. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of times you separate the wheat from the chaff a lot of times because you just talk about it and you break it down to the cue where there's never going to be 100% decision. But if you get to like a 70-80% type of like sure decision, you should make and then have a plan B, plan C, because there's never going to be 100% decision made.
Right. 100%. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is to come together. You're never going to agree on anything, but as long as everybody can come to a common ground, and then you guys can stand on that together, like that's the biggest thing. Especially from a coaching staff, that was one of the biggest things for me is that, being able to agree, whether you agree on this defensive coverage or this offensive play, or this player, how we should, regard them or how we should play them. Whatever we feel behind the door, one thing, once we walk out and we're all one unit, boom, that goes a long way. Players feel that, the team, feels that energy is huge. I'm a 100%. big advocate for that.
Are you also doing a podcast with Stefan?
Yeah. Me and Steph have been doing a podcast, the EuroLeague Pod. We've been doing it for a while. We have had a break in it right now just because of just things going on outside, business-wise, family-wise, everything. We've had to take a break with it, but it's something that we've been doing for a while. And it's actually pretty fun, man, being able to talk the game, being able to just break down all the stuff that's going on in the EuroLeague, especially transition from how it was when we were playing, to what it is now. The level of play, the competition, it's extremely high. The last couple of seasons have just been, amazing, seeing how it's played out. And for me and Steph to be players that have played at the highest level, won at the highest level, and been impactful enough to share our experiences, to give people like an insight and to look at, what it's like during these time of years in the locker room and in these moments. Like a lot of people, they don't know this side. They hear from a lot of people that weren't actually in those situations. They were outside the situation, which is not a problem. It's still entertaining, but I think it's just more exciting to hear it from the source.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's so much knowledge and experience that you get to share. Like this, like seeing it from a different perspective. I think it's important to break it down and compare not only eras but just styles of play that you see from your angle. It's I'm sure. What's the podcast called?
Euro Lounge.
Euro Lounge.
Euro Lounge. Yep. Euro Lounge podcast. Stefan Laz, man. James Gist, man. It's definitely been fun. Check it out for sure if you get a chance. We got some more episodes coming out soon. But again, and Steph was a student of the game just like me. It wasn't like we were just players that were really good at our position. We really studied the game. Like Steph would be walking around with his laptop prior to the game, even the night before the game, watching game tape of his position, who he's playing against, or just a team in general, because we switched. As bigs, we switched, so we had to guard multiple positions. We had to understand all kind of plays and everything, and then offensively how we would attack. We were students of the game, so even the way that we talk on the podcast is not only just from a lifestyle point, but it really is basketball too. We talk from a knowledge of basketball, the game, which also gives kind of like a real insight to players and people alike. That they get it. We're not talking from a place of we don't really know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you mentioned you're 4 for 5 from the ATOs. Are you ready for my ATOs?
Go ahead with it, man. I'm here. I'm all for it.
Let's see. We'll see what my count will be. Biggest advice to rookies, U.S. rookies coming
overseas.
Yeah.
My biggest advice to rookies coming overseas would be embrace the moment. Don't fight against the moment of understanding that you're now in a different place. You're in a whole different country. You are going to experience many different things. You're going to meet many different people. Embrace the culture. Embrace going out, meeting new people. Embrace the food. Embrace your teammates. Embrace what the coach is teaching you. Take advantage of these situations. You're a rookie. You're going to get a chance to see and experience things that people wish they could. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in a place that people can walk to an airport and see on a postcard. It's going to be in your backyard. Really take advantage of these opportunities as opposed to looking at it like, woe is me, or like, why am I not here? Embrace it, walk into it, and take advantage of the things that you can learn through that year, because it will grow you into a better person and a better player.
Biggest advice to players entering retirement?
Players entering retirement, my biggest advice would be continue to build relationships. Continue to build relationships with people. Your network is going to be huge when it comes to figuring out what you want to do afterwards. Have a plan. Have a plan. Don't just think that, life is just going to go on once you say, I'm done. Have a plan for what you want to do and transition into, but also continue to build relationships with people that you've come across over your career. You've been fortunate enough to use the game of basketball as a vehicle to not only play and win championships, but travel the world, meet all kinds of people. You've been in rooms with people that normal people just wouldn't be in if it wasn't for, the fact that you played the sport of basketball. So continue to build those relationships, because once you retire, a lot of those people that you cross paths with may be somebody that can help you continue, on to something else.
Best personal investment in the last 6 months?
My best personal investment into the last 6 months would probably be my time into the NBA FBOS program and the EuroLeague basketball coaches, program. And also taking the time to actually get into coaching with the high school basketball team. I think doing those 3 things over the last, 6 to 8 months has really put me in a position to step into a new role going into this new year coming up. And that's just something I feel like is important. If it's something that you have, that you want, you have to invest your time into it. Just like being a basketball player, you want to be the best that you can be at your position, and you have to invest time into that. They say it's 10,000 hours, right, to perfect something. I feel like you have to do that. And for me, the last 6 to 8 months, I've really been putting a lot of effort and insight and, energy and they're trying to get to this next step and crack this coaching door.
Single best moment from your playing career.
Single best moment. Is this your 4 for 5 right here, man? There's so many to choose from. You know, it could be winning championships. It could be big games, you know,
First
that we
thing you
didn't
think
have
of.
any idea of winning. It could be getting drafted to the NBA, like hearing my name called. Like, there's so many different moments, man. It's really hard to choose one. I'm gonna have to. I can't answer. I can't answer it. I can't answer it. If I just said one, I'd probably be lying, man.
Yeah.
I'd probably be lying. I've had so many moments through this game of basketball. I mean, you think of 16 years professional, 4 years collegiate, so that's like 20. And then everything leading up to that, like going through the rankings, like saying that, you know, I was going to be considered as one of the top players coming out in my high school class. Like I got my high school class was Dwight Howard, you know, J.R. Smith, like those guys, like Sean Livingston. You know, it was amazing to be able to share the court from high school all the way up to the professionals and see how everybody went in their own, you know, different, you know, roads and journey. It is hard to just choose one, man.
I bet it's an impossible one. I get it. Um, One last question that I always ask everybody. That's a Tim Ferriss question because I'm gonna be the Tim Ferriss of basketball and sports. Your favorite failure. So the favorite failure is something that you look back on and that was like a big disappointment or a biggest lesson that you learned from that, like something that you carry on until today, from something that you failed at miserably, maybe like throughout your career that you look back on and it's like, man, I'm hurt, but I'm kind of glad it happened.
My biggest failure, I would say getting out of shape. Getting out of shape, you know, for me, um, as a basketball player, I lived in the gym. I trained, you know, 3, 4 times a day, and you know, going through the international season, it's like 10 months. You know, from August all the way through June. If you're playing, you know, on one of those championship teams, your training camp starts in August. EuroLeague, all those games that you play, your domestic league finishes mid to late June. And you get like 6 to 8 weeks in the off season to train or to stay in shape. And in that time, you get out of shape. You know, it hurts getting back in shape, man. It hurts getting back in shape. And there was one year, I can't necessarily remember the year that it was, but it was the only year that it happened. And I was like, man, I needed to take some time off. I just felt like I needed to take time off from playing. And I took maybe like 2 weeks, maybe almost 3 weeks. Usually after like 5 or 6 days, I'm like, I gotta get in the gym. I gotta do something. You know, I can't. I would take a small vacation at the end of the season because I was already overseas before I came back home. I wouldn't be able to do that when I got back home. But this particular year, I was just like, nah, I need like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And even during the time that I started to get back in the gym, in that 3 weeks, it was like a lifetime of not playing basketball, you know, being out of shape, being having to get your body back down to the weight that you need to be at, but also withstand, you know, all of the physical activity that you have to do to get down and still be able to play. You know, you can get hurt doing that stuff. You
Exactly.
get hurt trying to maintain your body if you don't keep it maintained. So you understanding that, you know, this is a thing that you have to do the entire time. You know, this is something, this is your life. You get paid to do this. You know, you're at the gym 2, 3 hours out of the day. They pay you to be, you know, a elite athlete, you know, and that goes in regards with how you live your life, the way that you maintain your life and all of that stuff. I would say one of my biggest failures was taking that year and not taking it serious and then coming back. And I think that might have been the year that I might have got hurt in like 2016, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tore my abductor muscle mid-season. I was out 4 months. I was out 4 months mid-season. I was able to come back and play, but I feel like that summer, it was just like, I should have never took those 2, 3 weeks. Should have kept going through. And I replay that in my mind, especially because I did it my whole entire career. You know, I never stopped. I literally would be in the gym 3, 4 times a day, whether I'm weightlifting, shooting, training, or just where I'm from, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, the competition, we breed basketball out of there. You know, like guys come home in the summertime, those games are sometimes more competitive than the games during the season. You know,
bet.
and a lot of it comes just because it's hometown, like bragging rights. You know, we really take it serious. That's just what it is. But taking that summer, I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I probably regretted, you know.
That makes a lot of sense. Strength and conditioning coaches are talking about that a lot. That last year in my summit, they talked about it, and the summers matter a lot for injuries during the season. Like that, it's year by year they did track it, and there's a lot of players that get hurt that didn't do anything in the summer, where they're overweight and come in and get hurt in preseason, or if they're not ready to be not well conditioned, and at some point it catches up.
A lot of players use training camp to get in shape, and that's bullshit. You're not supposed to do that. You should already be in shape. I mean, at some point, man, we're basketball players. What are you doing? Like I can say it because I did it for those 3 weeks. I just didn't do anything. That's what I was doing. I didn't do nothing. They pick up a ball, they go to the gym, they do nothing. And in that time, you got to understand when you're playing the game, rhythm, the timing, you know, even the timing of the ball going down and hitting the floor and coming back up to your hand, you can lose that timing of the moves that you make by taking 2-3 days off. So you multiply that by 2 or 3 months, or you think of, not 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 weeks, or you think of NBA players who are done in April. You know, they didn't make the playoffs. They're done in April and their training camp doesn't start till October. You know, they got to train that entire time. You know, a great off season, but at the same time, if you're not putting in work during that time, you come into training camp not within rhythm, not within stuff, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt trying to get back in shape if you don't maintain this or anything. And for me, it was always trying to get better at something, whether it was defensive, offensive, you know, my right hand, weak hand, whatever it was, jumping, strength. I used to like my core, my shoulders. These were things that I used to like pay a lot of attention to on the later end of my career, was just making sure that I was really strong in those aspects. So there were certain things that I always wanted to improve in. So I never really took a lot of time off. But like I said, for me, I didn't have those months to take off. I just took off 3 weeks. And it was just like I saw the difference in that season and other seasons that I had before. Just it was like stay on top of your game. Don't fall back off of that. You know, and it hurts trying to get back in shape, man. It really does. So don't my advice would be don't do that.
All right, everybody. James Giss, thanks for being here. Thanks a lot for taking the time and share your experiences and lessons you had.
Thank you. I really appreciate for having me here. It was enjoy talking basketball, talking life, talking everything, man. I appreciate it.
Tell everyone how they can find you or reach out, and like your Instagram, any social media, anything you like to share.
Most definitely. Again, doing a podcast with my guy Stephon Lasme. We're on the Euro Lounge Pod. You can check us out on Instagram at Euro Lounge Podcast, and YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, Euro Lounge Pod, as well. My personal Instagram handle is Monsieur Gist. You can follow me there as well. Currently coaching high school basketball, boys varsity at my alma mater, Our Lady of Good Counsel. We're having a good year right now. And so this is where you can find me. I'm available. Reach out. I'm here.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here, listening, watching, and see you soon. Bye.
Take care.